Welcome to the Changemaker Collective podcast. I'm your host, Lee Mitchell, and each week we sit down with entrepreneurs, advocates, and industry disruptors who are reimagining what's possible in business, leadership, and community. Whether you're building something new, championing equity, or navigating your next career leap, this space is for you to learn, get inspired, and take empowered steps forward to drive meaningful change in your world.
Okay. So, Rignam, thank you so much for joining us. We've been talking a lot about AI and disruptive business models, and this is a new position for you. We're really excited to hear how you transitioned into this position and what it means to you and what trends you're seeing. Anything you want to share will be kept in this room only. So, welcome, and feel free to just start telling us a little bit about your journey, how you got into it, how you got into working at the CBC. And of course, I'm sure, as I was saying, that there were, some threats that CBC was going to be defunded. So I'm sure that, that was a bit of a challenge as well. So, navigating those waters might be interesting to share as well. So welcome, and I'll give it away to you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, and sounds good.
Give them a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And sorry, Lee, did you want me to just talk, or are you gonna ask questions throughout, or how did you want to do it?
Yeah, we can make it popcorn style. So you can start by just giving us a little bit of a background, and that will whet our appetite to be able to ask questions. And you can also ask them questions as well. And then, I'll definitely pop in with some questions that come to mind for me as well. And then we can make it pretty informal. Students can come up and ask a question as well.
Okay, sounds good. I think I can get started, and with background as to who I am, how I got started at CBC, then kind of transition into how I got into AI at CBC, and then talk a little bit about some of the trends I see and things that I'm hearing about in this space, and try to relate it to marketing as well as much as I can. And then people can ask questions throughout, or Lee can ask questions throughout, and at the end as well. So happy to do that. So I'm Rignam. I'm the AI advisor at CBC News. I've been in this role for about 8 months now. I'm the first and only hire at CBC right now for AI. For CBC News, we have a few other AI hires now. So these are brand new positions, new titles, as I'm sure you start seeing popping up around in the world right now. Not only in news, but in marketing, in finance, in healthcare, whatever. There are new jobs coming up, new titles coming up, new really industries popping up as well. So these are just things that we're kind of, these things are shifting and things are changing, and we're just responding to it, and I'm responding to it individually as well. So my job right now is to guide and advise on our implementation and adoption of AI at CBC News, to really give our leaders and equip our leaders with the knowledge to understand the challenge and the opportunities that are coming, to guide our staff. We have over 7,000 staff across Canada, to guide them all, train them on AI literacy and fundamentals, to evaluate and test AI vendors. We're getting a lot of people are trying to sell different AI tools and functionalities to companies around the world, including our company. So we're having to test a lot of them, figure out what works for us and what doesn't work for us, but also to build our own AI tools and products for CBC News and for CBC. I kind of sit also in between the news and the product teams to be able to guide both of them and work with both of them to talk to each other and to figure out what is our strategy. And then also, I think it all ties into changing the culture at CBC around what it means to move and play in this AI space, to how do we want to take this challenge to make sure that we understand where we sit and how we're going to move forward, and really talk to our employees and our staff to answer any questions, and to be able to listen to them, because there is a lot of anxiety around AI. There's a lot of fear around AI in their jobs and the future of work, but there's also a lot of excitement as well around the possibilities. So having to manage all of that, and be able to let people know what our strategy is and how we are going to help them upskill and figure things out in this space. So that's a big challenge that we have. I've talked to a lot of people around our company about how they feel, and I've heard everything from fear to excitement to disinterest. So really being able to change the culture is such an important part of this work that I think is not talked about enough online. So that's kind of like the broad strokes of the work that I'm doing right now. But how I can talk about how I got into CBC first, and then how I transitioned into AI. So, I went to Queen's University, studied political science. I actually lived in India for a year afterwards, in New Delhi. I was interning for the UN. So I thought I was going to be in the political international relations space. I ended up not enjoying that space as much as I thought, and I moved back to Toronto and really started from scratch in Toronto, not knowing what I wanted to do, experimenting with a lot of different industries, including marketing, until I kind of found my footing and really by chance got into CBC. So it was really a story of, being able to make something out of nothing in Toronto, moving to this city on a whim, not knowing anybody, and making the opportunities where I could and networking as much as I could. So how I got this job, not this job, but a job at CBC at the beginning, was through the back door, because CBC is not known to have a lot of avenues to get in versus other companies. A lot of times for the journalism side of things, you're only getting in through a formal internship through a school, an accredited journalistic institution, where it's a very competitive process to get that initial internship. And then from there, you're hoping to get on afterwards. I got in through networking on Twitter back when it was called Twitter. I befriended a producer on Twitter that worked at CBC News, and they forwarded me an internal posting that was really around. It was a part-time 1-month contract. That was my in. And so I applied to that job. It was transcribing radio. So I was just literally hand transcribing a radio show. And it was my door in, though. Like, it was the first time I got into the CBC, and from there I just started networking, having coffee chats with people, talking to people on the phone, trying to meet as many people as I could within CBC while I was there, so I could understand the company, understand where the opportunities were, and where I needed to go. And from that opportunity, I just continued to build, and I eventually moved around the country, because that was the advice I was given, that I needed to start somewhere small. I moved to up north in Northwest Territories in Yellowknife. I was a reporter. That was my first job as a reporter at CBC. Then I moved to Winnipeg as a producer before eventually finding a job back in Toronto, which is where I wanted to always be back into. But it took a couple years at least to do that. So a lot of people, actually, it takes 7-8 years before they can get to the city that they want to be in. But that was the path that I took. And I was actually in many different jobs at CBC, not just in news, but in video creation, content, communications, back end journalism, front end on the camera, podcasts, YouTube, you name it. Really, any type of part of the CBC, I kind of had an experience with. So it gave me a really fulsome, holistic understanding of CBC, I think, which made me really good for this current role, which really interfaces with the whole company. It's a really massive corporation, so there's a lot of people that I need to know and talk to. And so being able to have that experience and talking to different departments, you understand how to talk to people, what the culture is, and how to communicate properly. So um, I was always interested in the intersection of media and technology. You know, I got into journalism. I was really loved journalism. Um, but then I always wanted to understand how the business models worked, how the technology worked, you know, how it was changing so much. You know, social media changed journalism completely. The internet changed journalism. Now YouTube, huge change. You know, YouTube is basically the front facing television that people used to have in the 1950s. That's YouTube right now. And so I was always working in those spaces, trying to understand what was next in journalism and media. And so AI was really just a natural next frontier for me to be able to have an impact on the future of media and journalism. And so once ChatGPT was released, the ChatGPT 3, the third version, this was about 2.5 years ago. I just kind of was curious about it, and I just started playing around with it. You know, friends and I would be talking about it, and from there I could see what the future could hold, what the opportunities were for journalism and media, and it really just kind of continued from there, just playing with it, testing it, figuring out how it works, how to prompt, how to evaluate the responses, and I could see that it was going to be a big, massive transformational change, not only for media but for the whole world and society, and it continues to be. And so I picked that lane, and I said, I think this is the space that I want to really be an expert in, because up until then I was kind of a generalist. And you know, I did everything, like I said. I also dabbled in all the different technologies, but I didn't really pick a specific area that I really wanted to be an expert in. And you know, I through some mentors that I had, and I think that's a really important thing if you can cultivate that as mentors. They gave me advice about I need to square kind of my interests with what the priorities are for a CBC and the company, and find some sort of alignment, the Venn diagram, where these are the places that CBC is going to be hiring in the future, and these are your interests. And through this an American institution, university, and luckily enough, I was selected for that. I don't know why they picked me, but they picked me. And so that was my real formal introduction to AI education and to understand the landscape. And so that was a 6-month program that I was a part of. And I built my network from there, built my education. And then from there, I just continued to build momentum. And so at the time, I was just working towards this goal, that to get a job in AI at CBC. And at the time, there was no jobs. And so I was working in a different position, and then I was just continuing to do the networking within CBC. So I was taking people out for coffee, trying to see where are people hiring, what are the positions that are coming up. And then I heard that they were thinking about adding an AI job. And so that was when I really targeted that specific role and waited for that role to open up, and it eventually did. And I felt like I prepared to be selected for that role. And so it was this current role is the first job that they ever posted in AI. And I think all the planning and preparation and work that I did led me to being the perfect candidate for this role, for them to hire at that specific moment in time. And so somehow it all worked out. But I think it was a mixture of planning and opportunity that led to that. So that gives you a sense of how I've been able to get to where I am, and where that progression was, and how I got to this specific role. And then I can talk about generally AI and trends and what I'm seeing, but I think I'll stop there for now to see if, based off of what I've talked about now, if there's any questions or comments.
Yeah, so anyone want to ask a question based off of any questions that came from what Rignam shared so far? So his journey, starting in a new country, in a new province, and moving around a lot. So that probably resonates with you, in that you're all movers and shakers that came to, every single one of our students is a newcomer. So maybe we could start there. So does anyone have something that comes to mind? In terms of
in terms of AI being one of the best avenues to get a job now, looking forward about 5 years from now, what do you think will be the new avenues that persons should be looking into for jobs?
It's a good question. It's a very big question as well. From where I stand right now, I think 5 years is way too long of a timeline right now. Like, I think that's a classic question, right? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I think everybody's been asked that before or thought of that. I think that question's kind of out the window now because 2 years ago, ChatGPT didn't exist, right? Now it's here, and I think what our concept of what we can do is completely changed and transformed, and we're still figuring it out. So I would say your timeline needs to be shortened, I think, to the next year or two, and you kind of have to continue to iterate. So really be nimble and try to see where the opportunities are right now and try to plan for the next maybe 1 or 2 years based on where the technology is, because there could be another technological transformation or revolution around the corner. We don't know that. So trying to plan for 5 years might be difficult. I would say if you were to plan 5 years and I think longer term, then that's more like, what industries do you want to be in? What industries do you see completely being wiped out or completely changing? Like, how does the marketing industry completely look different in 5 years? I think that's where you can see those bigger trends for 5 years at a more macro level. But if you're talking about your individual job and role, like, think about in the next 1 to 2 years and try to be as nimble as possible. And I would say what you need to do is, for better or worse, you need to start playing around with the tools and understanding how they work. And even if it just start with ChatGPT, I say ChatGPT, but like there are hundreds of LLMs that you can use, open source, closed source. You can build your own tools. You can code yourself now. Like, coding you can do with natural language, with English or Hindi or whatever you speak, because you know these programs understand you the way that you want to communicate now. So I think it really opens the door of possibilities of what you can and can't do. Like, what the job of a marketer is in the next 2 years is going to be completely different from what it was in 2019. And I think that if you can try to anticipate what that's going to be, it'll give you a little bit of an edge. But you're always going to have to kind of be on that edge to figure out what that next thing is. But it starts with using it. It starts with understanding it, the fundamentals, not giving into the hype as well, because I think that there's a lot of information out there, but a lot of it can be bad information or misleading. And so you want to make sure that you understand who are the trusted voices and companies that you can follow, and discern like what is hype and what is reality, because people are going to try to sell you on a lot of things that are not true. The pace of change might actually not be as fast as they say. Like, I think we do have some time. I think we're right now in that middle ground sweet spot where people are figuring it out. They don't really know what's going to happen. Companies don't know how to adjust. They don't know what their future holds. And I think that gives you space to right now, even if you start right now and you say, I want to corner my expertise in this space, you have the opportunity because it's still early enough to be able to do that. And then from there, you just continue to build. So, use the tools, understand them, figure out how to work with them, try to develop an area of expertise in a particular part of it, even within marketing or communications, like, and build and try to build that knowledge base up for yourself. And then from there, you can develop your expertise and figure out what those roles are. Like, the next jobs are not even existing right now. Like, my job didn't exist 8 months ago. It's completely new. So there's going to be completely new marketing jobs that exist in the next year, 2 years. And I think that's the things you need to anticipate of, like, what are the jobs that are going to open up? What are the roles that are going to be there? AI ethics around marketing. Is that something? How to build marketing products with AI tools, how to figure out company strategy, consulting. These are all things like content creation. I think that's a huge avenue, and it's going to change completely. And the possibilities are really endless. I think a lot, like right now, a lot of the social media content you see that's marketing content is AI generated, like probably 80% right now. And people don't realize that what they're seeing is actually AI generated now. So I think that there's a lot of people trying to figure it out, and nobody has it figured out right now. So I think if you kind of take a step back and you take a deep breath and you say, okay, I don't need to understand everything right now, but nobody understands anything right now. So at least you're all at the same level, and you're at the same level as CEOs, as founders of massive companies. Like everybody's trying to figure it out right now. So just have some patience on yourself and compassion for yourself to like figure it out, and then kind of just work your way there. The last thing I would say on that question is really try to understand and analyze what are the things that humans can do that computers cannot, and like write it down, like really like figure out what are the things that are never going to go away no matter how good the AI is going to be. Like events, one thing is never going to go, in-person events. If that's something that you want to really dive into, like that's never going to go away. It's going to continue to be a growth area. Human face-to-face interaction, that's something that will always exist and people will have a desire for. So, if you're really particular, have an affinity for events, like that's something that is probably going to grow exponentially in the next 5 years. Like anything that has to do with like so really, I'm not going to say the list of things, but I think you need to do the work to figure out what are the unique human things that will never go away for a job to be to for opportunities that exist there, and also for the skills that you need in your workplace. Like what are the human skills that cannot be replicated? That's like empathy, compassion, management, like understanding how to manage humans. Like that is something that an AI can't really understand or replicate. Like, so I don't think management roles are going to go away. They're going to change drastically. But obviously you need to get to the manager level first. And then the last thing I'll say, and it's more speculative, is around agents. I don't know if anybody's heard of AI agents, but they're basically autonomous machines that go out and do tasks independently from humans. So you could ask an AI agent to say, go do this, and it will go do it and then come back to you, give you the result, or do the result without even telling you. So there could be roles around how to create and manage agents. So people talk about your next colleague is going to be an AI agent. Like it's still very speculative, and I think it's still about a year or two away. But thinking about how do you work with AI agents, or how do you manage AI agents to do the work of 10, 20, 30 employees? That's a bit more speculative. So, but I think you can look into it and see if that interests you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll move on to like the trends and specific things that you're working on.
Yeah, sure. I mean, is this too high level, or like what do you guys want to hear? Like I think I would like it'd be good for me to know like what are the things that you're interested in? What are the things that you think are relevant for you? Like do you want to be more technical or less technical? I can kind of talk about anything really in this space. So yeah, really it would be good for me to understand what is the best use of your time.
Okay. Yeah, please. As postgraduate students, right? What AI tools are like the top 5 do you think are really beneficial or would be beneficial to us now? Apart from ChatGPT, we all know that one. But in terms of postgrad students going into the work world or going back into the working world and in different areas, marketing, communications, and so on, what are some of the AI tools that you think we should try to learn about? Like the top 5 that could be useful to us.
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me just write it down.
Okay.
Um, I'm just gonna write. I'm gonna give you a couple, and then so one of my favorite tool is called NotebookLM. It's a Google product. I highly recommend everybody try it out. It's really, I think that could be the foundation for any student, for anybody, any knowledge worker, to really learn and understand anything you want. So I think the one thing that I find really useful for AI is research, and information synthesizing. So like summarization and synthesis is like what it's amazing at right now. Everything else you can kind of debate on, but if you want to understand information, you basically can use NotebookLM to really be an expert in a field within, in a much, much faster time than you could initially. So your capacity to learn is going to be able to exponentially increase because I use it every day to understand concepts. So basically what NotebookLM does is it is a chat bot, but it also functions as other things. But it's source grounded, so it reduces the hallucinations. So what they call bullshit in AI, like anything that it makes up, it reduces that significantly so you can trust what it's there. So you basically upload your own sources to NotebookLM and it will summarize it for you. It will put it into a podcast. It will turn it into briefing notes, study notes, FAQs, timelines. You can create visual like infographics out of the information, and the context length, like the amount of knowledge you can put into there is crazy high. So for the free version, you can put up to 50 sources, and each source can be up to 500,000 words. And so that's a lot of information, right? That's like hundreds and hundreds of books into just one notebook, and you can have a maximum amount of notebooks, and so that you can then understand all that information very fast. And so if you want to be learning about AI and you want to learn about your industry, you can just put things into notebooks and then continue to learn with it. You chat with it, you create podcasts out of it, you can explain it, you can have it explain it to you in different language, like reading levels and languages, in over 76 different languages. So if English isn't your first language, if you want to use a different language, you can understand that way. And so I've used that tool to be able to supercharge my learning. So that's one I would recommend. Another one I would be like, obviously ChatGPT, but then look at some of the other language models. There's a ton of them, but the ones that I kind of gravitate towards, I think Claude from the AI company Anthropic is really useful. That's the best one at writing. So you can get a sense of the different personalities of the different LLMs. So they all have different personalities. So you can evaluate the different outputs and see like how they function, how their personalities are, what each one is good at and not good at. Because I think the future you're going to be using multiple ones, not just one. So if you can understand how to use different ones, it's all the same principles. It's like you're prompting it, you're talking to it, you're getting it to do things, but you want to be able to look at them all individually. So Claude is the LLM from Anthropic. They all have free versions, so you can try it out. And then Gemini is Google's language model. So definitely check out Gemini because it's really the best in multimodal AI, which is what it's really around different types of interfaces and content. So not just text, but it does really great audio. It does really great video, because in Gemini, you can generate audio, you can generate video with their new VO3 model, video generating model. I don't know if you've seen it. It's been pretty viral these days around how realistic the video looks. So within Gemini, you can test out that. You can also get subscriptions to all of them. I would recommend trying that out so that you can really play around with the kind of frontier best versions of it, especially with VO3. Like if you're trying out VO3, which is the video generation, then you're going to get a sense of what is the future of content creation, advertising when it comes to video generation. So you can get an expertise in kind of how that works. So that'd be Gemini, Claude, NotebookLM, VO3. And then two smaller ones I'd say are Perplexity. That's basically an AI search engine. And I use that to continue to kind of speed up my understanding of topics. It's really, they were kind of the ones that innovated at the frontier of how can AI help with search. So if you have a question that you have, you can kind of get to it the fastest and the most detail with Perplexity. That's also free. Anybody can use it. And the last one would be, you can check out 11 Labs. So they're an audio kind of generation company. So you can see how good their audio generation is. They're at the kind of forefront of it. You can generate your own audio. You can see where that could, what the possibilities are when you can generate your own audio about anything, in a very realistic way. Those are all more like content generation ones, but I'll start there, and then if people have other questions around other AI tools, I can definitely recommend other ones. But I would just say start slowly, start with some of the basics. These are kind of like the foundational ones that I would recommend, and then kind of go from there.
Thank you.
Rignam, so what I took from your really helpful summary was Notebook, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, and Lemon Labs. What I heard you say one other one, but I didn't hear.
Yeah, VO3.
VO3, okay.
VO3.
I haven't heard of that. What does VO3 do?
Video generation.
Generation.
Yeah, and I think when you're trying them all out, like again, come with the mindset of like, what is the technology going to look like in the next 2 years? What are you going to be able to do with this? And then also like, what can a human only do with this technology or without it? And I think once you see the possibilities that you can do, then you can start to see like, okay, now what can it not do that I can kind of make sure that I develop those skills that a human can do. So just kind of think about that while you're using it.
All right, I'm just writing this stuff down. This is important. Thank you for that. So do you want to get into, well, first of all, so he's mentioned some really interesting thoughts. Anybody have a comment, want to ask a question? Yeah, please.
If we want to get where you are, how do we do the step-by-step guide to reach where you are?
Well, I did tell you my journey, so you can start there. Let me figure it. But I guess depends on what you're wanting to do. Like, I think, what is it that what do you mean get to where I am? Like in this type of role, or like at this company, or maybe can you answer that?
As you said that we are all starting at the same level as the CEOs. We are all at the same level. But if you want to get further in AI and get into it so that in future you have jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd say start with like learning about it, playing with it, trying it out, showing, like taking courses. Like there's free courses online that you can get certificates for. So you can start demonstrating your proficiency. Like employers are going to start to want to see that you are comfortable using different AI tools. And if you can show what you've been doing with it, that will be a really good plus on that. You can say, I built this with AI, here's the stuff that I've been able to do with these tools. And you can talk about that in your job interviews. One big trend that I can talk about is using AI to help you job search. Like, I get AI to rewrite my resume now and like tailor each of my resumes to different jobs based on keywords. Because right now, and this is throwing recruiters through loops right now, because recruiters don't even know what to do anymore, right? Because I've seen job applications now where we're hiring AI engineers right now. Everybody's resume looks the same because it all goes through ChatGPT. And so everybody's resume is the same, has the same keywords. And so recruiters are like, I don't even know where to begin now because everybody looks the same. So you got to figure out, but you can make your resume stand out more by if you actually don't try to make it generic and actually work with the job description that's there and say, I want my resume to match the job description here. And then you make sure that you work with the AI, collaborate with the AI because I think one other point is that you don't want AI to be just get you to the fastest, worst product that you have. You want it to augment what you're doing. So the more time you put into what you're working on with AI, it's going to make it better. Whereas too many people are like, I just want AI to spit out something for me in 5 seconds and I'm just going to submit that. Like, that's the wrong approach. Like, you want to be able to be mindful about your use and then use it to continue to improve your work. So even for job hunting, like, you work with AI right now, say just ChatGPT. Use ChatGPT to help your resume align with that specific job interview, and then you can make sure that you're and you can ask it to, like, ask it questions. Be like, how can I change my resume to make it more appealing for this job? What other experience should I include from my life? What am I missing? So you can make sure you can improve where you're at. So that's the resume side of things. Then you talk about, if you get to an interview, you can use AI to help you with the interview process. You can literally do an interview with the AI to help you prepare for an interview based off of the job description. You can say, generate a 1-hour interview for me for this job description and help me practice this interview. Give me different scenarios. You can do that, and that will help you with the job search. And then if you want to get even more advanced, I've seen people like develop basically AI like tools that will automate their entire job application process, so they can then personalize. They'll have their resumes, and they'll be able to use AI to send their resume to like hundreds or thousands of jobs all at once, all tailored to those different jobs. So you basically casting the widest net you can possibly cast. And that just increases your efficiency. You don't need to manually apply for a lot of these jobs, because, to be honest, the recruiters are really just throwing them through a machine anyways, right? They're throwing your CV in a machine, making sure that it aligns with what their base keywords are and what they're looking for. And then from there, you'll be invited to, and this is kind of taking you for a trip, but your first interview might not even be with a human. It might be with an AI. So then you're going to be using AI to talk to an AI for your interview. It sounds really weird, but unfortunately, like, some companies are doing that just to screen out initial candidates. So you'll have to talk about yourself to an AI, and then make sure that you get past that initial screening. Then you eventually will talk to a human, and then kind of move through that process. So those are some tips. I would say definitely leverage AI in your work search, because it's starting to be something that's kind of table stakes. Everybody's using it. Like, I'm seeing resumes nowadays. Everybody's resume looks perfect because it's all been through ChatGPT and it's been verified by them. And so we're having trouble distinguishing different people. And I think that, what does help us is, people used to always talk about maintaining your personal brand, making sure you have, and Lee's great at that. She's so active online, right? She's always out there talking about herself, what she does, making sure people are aware. I think that helps you in this day and age even more, because it verifies that you're actually in that space and you're a human doing it and you have experience, because it's hard to look up somebody that doesn't exist online, especially when everybody's resume looks the same. So to stand out, you got to have a little bit of presence, so we know that you are who you say you are. Because nowadays it's getting easier and easier for people to fake it till they make it. Like, they can just ask ChatGPT anything and be like, yeah, I this is my experience, because, like, this is my experience, this is what I know. But then when you actually get to the interview stage, you realize, oh, that person didn't have any experience in this at all. They just asked AI about it. So I think you need to really understand what the landscape is. Hopefully that helps.
So what about for business? So that's awesome. Like, I love that you shared some really great ideas around using it for your job search and advancing your career. What about for business? So, I'm really advocating for my students to explore having a side hustle, building out their personal brand, and potentially launching a business that they could go full-fledged into entrepreneurship as a full-time gig. So what do you see could help with that?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question, and a lot of things. So, I mean, not to sound like I'm an AI hype person, like, I'm not. Like, I'm pretty critical about AI generally, so I want to give that out. Like, there's a lot of bad things with AI. ethical things that are things that to think about, societal issues around AI. But I'm just talking about where we're at right now and how you can use it, right? So just want to give that context. But when it comes to like business, so, and I talk about personal business. So this might be a little bit of hype, but a lot of AI researchers are talking about how the first one person company is going to be a billion dollar company in the next 2 years, just one employee, because you're able to 10x, 100x your productivity that much to the point where you actually don't need to hire people to be able to do that much work. That's when it comes into agents and things like that. So I think I'm just giving that example because even though it might be BS, that your productivity can be exponentially increased using AI tools. And so in that, you can do so much more than you thought was possible if you just understand what's out there and how you can leverage those tools. So, when it comes to building a business or personal brand or content, like you can create podcasts much faster than you could before because of AI. You can help AI with your interviews, with your preparing for those interviews to generate the content. You can start uploading things on YouTube even faster and better because of AI. You can basically use AI. Basically, if you say you're starting a business, say you have a startup idea, before you even think about who your partners are or who you want to hire, which is obviously a later thing, think about like, okay, what AI tools can help me in this startup phase where I'm figuring it out? Where can I outsource my productivity to certain tools that will help me leverage, what I want to do in this business? Because I think with the democratization of AI tools, there's going to be so many startups, and there's a lot of opportunity for startups right now because we're still in that figuring it out phase. There's startups in the AI space, but there's startups in the business and the marketing space, whatever. Like every industry will have a different ecosystem of startups. But then those startups are going to have less people in those startups because you're going to be able to do a lot more with AI. So AI to help you draft that business plan, to think about what the ideas are across the landscape, to do some of that work for you. So like you don't need to hire somebody to build a website for you because you can literally do it yourself. Like you can already do it yourself with Squarespace and things like that. But now all the code can be generated, the copy, I wouldn't recommend, again, just doing it so fast, but actually take time to critically delve with that AI work and work with it, collaborate with it. Don't just offsource it. Don't just do it really quick and dirty. But it will be faster. So you can generate all the copy on your website. You can help it create your business plan. You can help it prepare for any investor meetings or partner meetings, meetings with customers. I think that you're going to be able to it's going to be, I know there's a trend right now of a lot of people not actually joining legacy companies because first of all, legacy companies aren't hiring as much right now. Entry-level jobs are kind of going down right now, partly because of the economy, partly because of AI. But there's this like I talked about, like we're in this sweet spot right now where there's going to be a lot of opportunity in the next 1 or 2 years to do a lot of different things. And so how do you gain that edge in the next 1 or 2 years to make sure that you're going to be sustained in that success? So whether it's starting a company in this space, using AI to help you with that, or figuring out what those wild ideas you have right now, I think now is the time to pursue those wild ideas. Obviously, if you have the privilege and the means to be able to do that. But it's just that we're in that incubating space right now where the potential is kind of teeming. And there's a lot of AI tools that can help you accelerate that work so you can literally get companies off the ground in seconds. Like even like, and this is not a startup thing, but like even like a massive Fortune 500 companies, like initial public offerings when you put your company to public market just to be able to trade stocks, that can all be done with AI now. And like that's a pretty big task, an IPO. That's starting to become automated. And so they're not having to use as many accountants, because AI is really good at repeating tasks that are repetitive, getting tasks done that are monotonous or have a lot of templates. but they just require a lot of manual learn it. It's possible. It's not that hard. You just have to have a willingness to do it. And like, it's really not that difficult. It's as easy as you want it to be, and it's also as difficult as you want it to be. Like, you're probably not going to be training an AI model. That's the most difficult thing. It requires a lot of complex math and algorithms, but that's not going to be your role or my role. Like, our roles are something else. So there's going to be a way for you to figure it out. So, you can do it. Like, it's really not that hard. You just have to want to do it. And there's nobody else doing it right now. I'm telling you, like, whatever thing that needs to be done in the next year, there's probably somebody that needs to do that. Like, there's probably a role that's going to open up that nobody has the qualifications for. Like, so I think that getting that confidence in me to really believe that I could do it, and that actually there was nobody else doing that at this company, I was like, it was mind blowing to me, because I was like, there's 7,000, 8,000 people in this company, and there's not one person who's thought about using AI in journalism. Like, how does that even make sense? It doesn't. But like, somehow that was the case. Like, and that's all across the country too. In every industry, like, there's probably looking for somebody with the right skill set and the right mindset to do a certain role, that maybe the role doesn't even exist right now, but it will exist in 5-6 months. So I think just making sure you understand that. And I think that's the message I want to convey, is that, like, I'm not an expert. I only started learning about this a year and a half ago. And really, I was able to do it. And I made the opportunity myself. And there was nobody else doing that. So I hope that helps. And that was like a message that resonates, because there's opportunities that are going to come. And I think it's just a matter of being ready for them.
Is such a great message, because we're learning about disruptive business models, and we looked at people that have done it in the past, and what is it going to look like in the future. And so your business case is such a great example for us. So I'm so thrilled, yay to me, for thinking to invite you. But it was because you are sharing what you're doing on LinkedIn. And so we, even though we're good friends and we connect in person real time on the street, you usually running after your two very adorable children and dog. But I'm also seeing the messages that you're putting out there on LinkedIn, and then that keeps you top of mind. So, you're building your personal brand while also being an advocate for CBC. And there's a lot that I learned about you today that I didn't know. So that's very cool to me. And so, I think that the big takeaway for me that I really want to reiterate is that every CEO is figuring it out in real time. Like, no one has all the answers, and you have to get comfortable with the uncomfortable, which is that you're just kind of getting this as you're going along, and you're going to make some mistakes, and you're going to be challenged, and you're going to have some really interesting opportunities. Be an early adopter, see it as a challenge, take it on, don't shy away from it, and don't be afraid of the future. So let's all give Rignam a huge thank you for everything you shared. So are you cool with students reaching out to you on LinkedIn, connecting with you? And is there any? Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, anybody wants to reach out, happy to chat. I've been in the same boat, like I would have never imagined I would be in this position. When I started out, I had no connections, no jobs, no nothing. And so I moved to Toronto with like literally nothing. And so to get to this point I just feel like it's possible if you just really try and you really make intentional about it. And so I still feel like there's so much more room for me to grow. So I understand what it's like. And so if you're trying to figure it out, you're struggling to get a foot in any door, I'm always willing to help anybody, because I've been in those moments, and those people that tapped my shoulder or like introduced me to somebody or gave me a job, like I understand how much that means, because I struggled. I couldn't get jobs. I couldn't pay for rent. Like, it was really if you've been through those moments, you want to help other people because you understand the challenges. So always happy to chat, always happy to introduce you to somebody, or if you're interested in CBC, like, there's I know a lot of marketing communications people there. I'm starting to get more contacts in the AI space and like the startup space. So always happy to email you. And if I don't have time to meet you, I'll still like try to email you. I will email you, and I will give you ideas or contacts. So please feel free to reach out.
Oh, that's so generous of you. And I don't doubt that. Yeah. Cause you are to come from a family of immigrants. Your mom came to Canada on her own. And
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit your origin story. Yeah. Like, where do you come from and what? Yeah. So, I mean, I know, but yeah, just tell the students so that they can see that,
Yeah. So my background is Tibetan. So if most people are from India, I see. I'm sure others are not from India, but you would know Tibet. There's so many Tibetans in India, right? My wife's family is actually from Dharamsala, and she lived in South India for a while. She lived in near Mysore. So we were all immigrants. We were refugees. We in India. Our families escaped Tibet. My parents, my grandparents, and came to India with nothing. And then moved to Canada afterwards with literally less than nothing. And my father was actually the first Tibetan to come to Canada in 1971. He settled in Belleville, which is 2 hours east of Toronto. There's a lot of Indians in Belleville. You might know of Belleville. Yeah, I mean, like, I was born in Canada, but I keep that experience with me and like that mindset. And I was always kind of wanting to make sure that, my parents didn't do all of that for nothing and my grandparents didn't sacrifice all of that for nothing. So, we're all in the same boat. And I think that, understanding what it means to come to a new country with no contacts, no networks, no resources is such a challenge. And I think it takes time, but you can appreciate that, a lot of people have done it before, so it's possible.
Thank you so much. That's so inspiring. And thank you for your time today. It's been a fabulous session and I learned so much and I know all of you did as well.